Most of you are kind of familiar with the concept of meet the expert. In fact, we had John on earlier on last year as our AI expert. In fact, John, I think we'll have to get you back actually because first of all, there was quite a lot of interest. There was a lot of people really curious on how AI had developed, but obviously, since we last spoke, probably a heck of a lot's happened in the world of AI. So it's maybe worth getting you back on as our artificial intelligence expert.
Yeah.
And tonight's expert is actually one of our own, our very own Craig, because one of the things that we've noticed both ourselves as a business and speaking with clients is just how much LinkedIn has changed and is changing as we speak. Some of it for the good, some of it maybe not quite as good. And Craig is very kindly volunteered to come along and talk us through LinkedIn. And one thing I think we can all agree on from a business to business aspect of it, LinkedIn is absolutely the number one social media platform for business to business. So Craig's going to talk us through what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. And he's promised to give us some eye openers, which is fantastic. We like eye openers. And we're going to leave plenty of time at the end for Q&A. So take tons of notes, ask loads of questions, and I will shut up and hand over to Craig, who's going to wow us on LinkedIn. Craig, over to you, buddy.
Thanks, Stuart. I'm just going to share my screen, everybody. Let me know if you can see it okay.
Yeah, we're seeing that, Craig.
Yeah, got it.
There we go.
Sorted. Yeah.
Got
Excellent.
it.
Let me just move. I'll move you over here. Okay, thank you, everyone. Great to see so many well-known faces this evening. So again, thanks very much for coming along. I'm going to talk this evening about LinkedIn and some of its secrets that most of us don't know about. I'll give you a very brief history into the brand and the platform itself and why it's one of the most successful social media platforms on earth. I'll also shock you by telling you that unless you've had your profile created and written and optimized for you by an expert, that the chances are, well, not the chances are, I guarantee you that you're pretty much invisible on LinkedIn. So there's some shocks to come in that front. I'll also introduce you to a new term to most people called MVFs or market value filters. And then once I've done that, I'm going to jump onto my LinkedIn profile and give you some live show and tell on my platform. So wish me luck with that one. I'm Craig Allan, and I'm a business and executive coach at The Power Within, and welcome to The Power Within this evening. Thanks for coming along. Okay, let's get right into it. I joined LinkedIn on the 19th of March, 2013. When I say I joined, that was my second joining. I had actually been a member since 2008, but because I worked in the IT sector in 2012, LinkedIn was hacked and millions of people's personal details were stolen.
Craig, you've muted. You unmute yourself. Just unmute yourself, Craig.
Cool. Right. Can everybody hear me now?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So yes, I was a member of LinkedIn long before that, from 2008. But when it was hacked and people's data was stolen, my rather paranoid IT employer at the time caused us all to close our accounts down for fear of impact on the business. So I rejoined in 2013. I've been really interested in it ever since. I've used it fairly effectively since then, but it's only the last 5 or 6 years that I've actually really started to use it effectively and to study it in more depth. I've built up connections. Oops, wrong way. I've built up connections. Come on now. Yeah, I've built up connections around the world on LinkedIn. Many of them, a lot of them, have become very close and great friends. But there's several, probably about 6 or 7 of them, who are LinkedIn experts, proper, advanced experts, and they have been very supportive in helping my learning and coaching me and mentoring me as I came along on my journey. One of them in particular, and I don't know if he's joined us yet, is a guy called Kevin Turner, who is from Texas. And Kevin is one of the top LinkedIn experts in the world. In fact, a lot of the stuff I'm going to be talking about tonight is Kevin's. So if you see anything here, Kevin, thank you very much for all your help and support. Kevin has one of the best LinkedIn focused YouTube channels, which I would highly recommend anyone going to. It's absolutely genius. So if you're here, Kevin, I can't see you, but thanks for everything. Okay.
He's not here yet, Craig, but I'll let you know if he joins.
Good man. Aye, please do. So join, right. So what is LinkedIn? Well, first and foremost, it's a website in its basic format. It's a website. It's a www.linkedin.com, just a standard website, right? But on the more advanced side of things, it's actually the single largest repository or the single largest database of CVs and resumes and people anywhere in the world. It's huge. And quite often when I ask people who are LinkedIn's customers, they'll tell me, well, I'm its customer, aren't I? Because, I'm a member, therefore I must be its customer. Well, no, you're not. Its main customers, its core customers are businesses all over the world. You and me, we are actually its core product. So there's an eye-opener. A very clever guy that I know once said, LinkedIn is the single most powerful tool and the most effective sales and marketing tool the world has ever known. And that's how I see it. That's how you, if you own a business, should see it. LinkedIn is the oldest popular social media. It was launched in May 2003, which is almost a year before Facebook, for instance. And it was originally brought about to support the recruitment industry, hence all the CVs that were put on it. But it's much more than that today, and we'll explore that as we go through. It's grown consistently through its membership, but it's also grown very aggressively through acquisition. And that acquisition has continued since Microsoft bought LinkedIn in 2016. Size, how big is it? Well, at the end of 2023, it now has over 1 billion members. Now, just to put that into perspective, that means that it's over 3 times larger by population than the entire USA. It's quite remarkable. In fact, if it was a country, it would be the second biggest country in the world by population. But it's also one of the few social medias that are highly financially successful. Its revenue currently teeters round about the $20 billion mark, and a large percentage of that revenue comes from the sale of their recruiter product, Talent Solutions, and Sales Navigator. . I'm sure many of you might have heard of the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. This was a game that was created in the 90s. And the principle of it was that you could connect Kevin Bacon to any other actor on earth in only 6 handshakes. Now, the principle of it was based on a much earlier creation of a theory called the 6 Degrees of Separation. It was created in 1929 by a Hungarian writer, and the principle of it was that any person could be connected to any other person in the world through only 6 handshakes. And I mean, that's incredible when you think of it. The fact that we could meet anybody of any level, anywhere, any country on the planet with only 6 handshakes, absolutely genius. It was actually referred to as the 6 handshake rule quite often. But LinkedIn were very early to recognize this and see the opportunity to monetize it. And surprisingly, that's exactly what they did. And to make sure they kept control of it, they couldn't afford us to have 6 connections, because the 6 degrees would mean we could meet anyone. Therefore, we would never need LinkedIn, right? So they cut us off at only 3 degrees and limited us to 30,000 connections. And when they got issues with high-end influencers at the time saying, well, if you're limiting me to 30,000 connections, I might just leave. They said, no, don't leave. Don't leave. We're going to give you something that's even better. We're going to give you followers, and you can have as many of them as you like. So, they had it covered from every angle. And the principle was that they would sell the other 3 degrees to us and us to them. And of course, they patented the entire concept so it can never be replicated or copied by their competitors. Absolutely genius. Okay, I said right at the start that you're invisible. So let me explain to you why. If your profile hasn't been optimized, i.e., by a LinkedIn trainer or LinkedIn expert, then you're not meeting LinkedIn's requirements. Therefore, you remain invisible to the algorithm. You're invisible to prospective clients. You're invisible to prospective employers or employers or recruiters. And one of the things that LinkedIn have been brilliant at doing over the years is that they've been brilliant at maintaining and managing this platform, this incredible platform. They're great at adding new features to it, for instance. In fact, in 2023 alone, they added over 170 new additional features to the platform. I mean, that's just incredible. However, they might be great at adding these things, but they are terrible at telling us about them and telling us what we need to do with them, telling us how to use them and get the best out of them. And that's why we have people like Kevin, who are very close to LinkedIn, who can keep us up to speed and report on what we need to do and how we need to use it.
Thank you.
So that's the thing, is that they're great at doing things, but they're crap at telling us about it. They introduced things called market value filters, for instance, or MVFs, right across everybody's platform, right across everybody's profile, but they never told us what they were. And if you're not using market value filters, guess what? You're invisible. And then, of course, there's the settings and privacy side of things. These are sometimes the basic settings, but sometimes are the hidden settings that we need to make sure are right so that we can be found, so that we are effective on LinkedIn. But again, LinkedIn are not a big help on that. When it comes to your LinkedIn profile, for instance, it's imperative that you use the market value filters that are now built into everybody's profile. And these only came in 2023, so it's all new to everyone. But your activity is important as well, because the algorithm monitors your activity levels and makes sure that you're getting bigger reach if your activity is up there. Now, the number of people that I speak to who are business owners and I talk to them about LinkedIn, the first thing I get from them is, I haven't got time to spend all day on LinkedIn, Craig. Well, that's great. I'm not asking you to spend all day on LinkedIn. I'd like you to give me 30 minutes a day, though. And if you come back and tell me that you can't spend 30 minutes a day to build your business, build your brand, grow your company by employing new members of staff, reach bigger markets than you've ever worked in before, and generally make more money. If you tell me, and of course, get more time off to spend with your family, but if you tell me that you can't do that, there's nothing that I can do that is going to help you, unfortunately. Uh, LinkedIn is such a powerful tool that we all need to be using it. And all I'm asking you for is 30 minutes a day. And I don't think that's too much to ask. Now, I'm about to jump into my LinkedIn profile and show you some other things. But what I'd like to start off by saying is that LinkedIn take your profile and they divide it into what's called panels. And this square that you can see here is often referred to as your top panel because it sits right at the top of your LinkedIn profile. You'll see this more clearly when I go on live. But the other thing that you'll see here is below my name, there is a block of text, and that's called your headline. And it's a very powerful piece of text. Over here, and here's mine here. Transforming lives through coaching, one goal at a time. Working with business owners, leading change, building performance, and improving leadership. Creative LinkedIn Maximizer, which is what I'm doing today. And then there's a bit about me when I'm not at work. I'm an avid bushcrafter, like to get out in the countryside, and I'm a wildlife and nature nerd. So it's all very powerful stuff. But I've highlighted this first section for a reason, because of these 220 characters that you're allowed here, the first 40 characters travel with you absolutely everywhere you go on LinkedIn. So if you post a comment on someone's post, if you like something, if you love it, then what travels with you is your profile picture, your face, your image, and the first 40 characters of your headline. Now, there's another great, well-known LinkedIn expert who lives down in Wales, a guy called John Espirian. And John has a principle that he says that if you can imagine that you're driving down a motorway or a highway in the US, and you come to one of these great big signs that straddles all the lanes of the road, if you had the first 40 characters of your headline showing on that banner across the roads, then if somebody was driving underneath it, would it tell them exactly what you do? So that's why I've highlighted that, because mine would say 35 letters in my case, characters, transforming lives through coaching. Very straightforward. Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second, Stuart, because I want to go straight into the live LinkedIn profile now. So let me just. Good. Right, I'll start sharing again. You seeing that all right, Stuart? Yeah.
Yep, all good.
Okay. So this is my LinkedIn profile, but when I'm asked to optimize anyone's LinkedIn profile, I have a fairly defined process that I go through. The first step I take is I go up. You see up at the right-hand side here where it says public profile and URL. Yeah, I'm just going to click in there with the pencil, and that opens up. Now, up here is my LinkedIn custom URL. Now, everyone's URL has www.linkedin.com/in/your name, usually followed by a series of numbers. Any LinkedIn coach worth their salt will go in and edit that for you and get rid of the numbers so as it just shows your name. Now, there's nothing wrong with numbers as long as these numbers are pertinent to what you do. Yeah. Scrolling down from there, we come in to see there's a big green button, your public profile's visibility. It needs to be switched on because it's not, guess what? You're invisible. People won't find you. And then we can scroll down to all these toggle switches. I toggle all of mine on, but you can choose which ones you want to put on and want to put off. Pardon me. The next section I would go to is, can you see there's a small image up here with the word me below it and a drop down menu. When I drop down on this, then I can get into settings and privacy. When we go into the settings and privacy, this is where all our settings are down the left-hand side. The first one I always attract everybody's attention to is data privacy. And when I click on here, I can go straight in and I can see one that says, get a copy of your data. If you have never done this before, I encourage you to do it straight away because this takes you into this window here, which is where you can get a backup of your entire data. And I would always, if you've not done it before, I would always encourage you to click download the larger data archive and then simply request, and that's it done. Now, what will happen now that I've done that is LinkedIn will send an email to me within the next few minutes, which will comprise a download with part of my data. Tomorrow, usually 24 hours later, you get the second part. So download that as well and store them both somewhere safe so that you've got a backup of your data on LinkedIn. And I would encourage you to do that every 3 months or so. There's various other settings in here, including your visibility. A lot of settings that I would change in here for people, but I'm not going to spend too much time on this right now because it's, let me just minimize you and get rid. So yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on that one. Let's get back right into the profile now. Other key things that you want to check are when you left click on your profile picture, there's a section here that says who can view your profile. Yeah, your visibility. You want to always make sure it's anyone on or off LinkedIn because if you don't, guess what? You're invisible. Can you see where this is headed? All of these things are designed to help you reach a bigger audience and be more visible than your contemporaries. The next thing I'm going to ask everybody to do is, can you see where it says more here? If you click more, I want you to go and save your profile to PDF. Now that'll immediately generate a PDF for you, which you can save anywhere you wish. It means that you've got a complete copy of your data as it is at that current time. Why it's important, in my case, the reason I use it is that from time to time, I go through the written version of it or the printed version of it, and I'll look for things that have changed since it was done so that I can make updates to my profile. So I'll use a highlighter pen or just an ordinary pen, and I'll mark them, the bits that I want to change on my profile. And I do that, every 2 or 3 months. So you're constantly managing your LinkedIn profile and making sure it's up to date. Right. So I talked about how LinkedIn divides your profile into panels earlier. So let me just go through and show you. Can you see there's a space between my top panel here and the next one, which is analytics, and then the next one, which is resources, and then there's a featured section and so on. They're all panels, right? Now, when you visit anyone's profile, you will not see their analytics and you will not see the resources because they're private to the individual. But let's focus on the top panel because, in my opinion, this is the single most powerful element of anyone's LinkedIn profile. The reason it's so important, I often introduce it by referring to it as it's like your shop window. And you want, if you can imagine someone walking down a high street somewhere or a main street in amongst hundreds of shops, you want your shop window to be so attractive and so full of information that when people stop and they look, they're compelled to come inside and browse, or in this case, to come in and browse our profiles. So it's really imperative that the stuff that you put on this top panel acts like a shop window. And to that end, what you'll see is a section along the top here, this big blue section with the Power Within training on it. This is often referred to as a banner, a background image, or the other one is a cover image. Personally, I prefer the term banner, but different trainers will use it for different titles. Once that's created, it should include, obviously, your details of your company. It should always include a phone number and your website address. I would also encourage an email address if at all possible. So you've created your background image or your banner and you've saved it, whether it's to your computer, whether it's to the cloud, whether it's to a server. Now what I want you to do is I want you to go in and I want you to rename it. So right click on the picture that you've got and rename it using keywords. Now, an example of keywords in this case might be the Power Within training, the Motivational Intelligence Company, 1.jpg for JPEG. And you save it like that. Because when you save it like that, after a while, the search engine algorithms out there, the Googles and whatnot, they start to recognize it and start to find you for the words that are contained within your keywords on there. As some of the guys in the Power Within will tell you, I take it a step further and I convert these keywords into meta tags, which I think is even more powerful. I've been doing that for a couple of years now, and I've had really good success with it. But then you want to take the keywords that you've saved your banner with, or the meta tags that you've saved your banner with, and then you want to go to your profile picture, and wherever you've got that saved, rename that exactly the same with exactly the same keywords or meta tags, but just instead of Motivational Intelligence Company 1, it's Motivational Intelligence Company 2, for instance. Save it, and only then do you upload them. So both of these features here, the profile picture and the banner, have been saved with meta tags behind them so that it optimizes the ability for searching for all of the keywords that are pertinent to me and my profile, but more importantly, to the Power Within in the business. Okay? Right. So the next section we're going to go to is your name. So this one is your name here. I've got mine with the Black Knight because that's part of my personal branding. But then below it is this section that we showed earlier on, which is your headline. And I'll explain to you why that's important. But you can imagine now how people coming to land on your profile for the first time are getting a really full idea of who you are and what you do. Transforming lives through coaching. That's what I do. But if this top panel is your shop window, well, when it comes to the contact information, how many of you have been to networking events, I wonder? And you'll know that when you meet someone new at a networking event, you shake hands, you have a chat, you talk about what each of you do. And then before you part company, you go into your top pocket and you swap business cards, right?
Craig,
Well, it's fact. Yes.
can I just cut in? So there's a few people asking some questions here about
Okay.
how you saved the banner with the meta tags. So how have you actually saved that profile image, and how have you saved that banner with the meta tags? How did you do it?
Okay, I won't go into the meta tags, but I will tell you how we do the keywords because the meta tags takes a bit longer to work out. But you identify what your keywords are for your business first. Okay. So let's take an example of the ones that I use there now. They are not necessarily keywords, but training would be, motivational intelligence would be, etc. These are all keywords for the Power Within. So You can use up to, I think it's 200 odd characters in the keywords, but I would suggest we keep it down to about 120 because it makes it more searchable. The way you do it is that, let's say you've got your profile picture and it's on your desktop for argument's sake. What you do is you right click on it, and when you right click on it, you'll see a drop down list that comes down and it says rename. And all you do is it will highlight the section to be renamed. And all you do is you type or cut and paste in the keywords that you've created and then save it in its same location, or save it as a version 2 of your profile picture, for instance. And then you upload version 2 of your profile picture to your LinkedIn profile. And that way it's saved with keywords and or meta tags, depending on how far you want to go and do it. But keywords is fine for 99.9% of people. So just and if you don't know how to get keywords, Google it and you'll find that there's websites that will come up and help you with keywords for your given industry, or use Chat GPT, AI, things like that, and just type in what are keywords for my business or my occupation, and it will come up with a whole ream of them for you. Pick the ones that are pertinent and save them in as the name of your picture, because the banner and your profile picture, that's all they are. They're just images, and you can rename them at any time and call them anything you want. Does that answer the question, Stuart?
I think so. I'll just keep an eye in the chat box, and if there's anybody else got any other questions, just bang them in.
Yeah, Craig, sorry it was me asking the question. My name's Kunle. Hi there. Thanks so much for this. So what you're saying is you upload a file that could be, so I'm in property construction, property management, space delineated .jpg, and that'll be the name of your picture, and then you upload that picture. Is that what you're saying?
Well, when any image is saved, it tends to be saved as a .jpeg. JPG is the abbreviation for that. So it's always going to be there at the end of your renaming. All you do is rename it, whatever you want to call it, with keywords that are pertinent to your position, your job role, your business, your industry, for instance. And then all you do is, once you're done, you just click out of it and it automatically saves it. I think, I don't know if that answered the question. I couldn't hear you very well.
Yeah, you got a thumbs up there, so
it does. Thumbs up. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Right, onwards and upwards. Right, where was I? Yes, I was just talking about how important the contact info is, because it's your business card, whereas the top panel is your shop window. Very, very powerful stuff. You'll also find that when you go into your contact info, you can have 3 different websites in here, your address, your email, etc., etc. Very powerful stuff, exactly what you would have on a business card. Now, as we go down, I'm not going to spend any time on the featured section here, because that's not, everybody doesn't use it and everybody doesn't have it, and it would take too long to go into, and I'm limited on time here. But I want to go into the activity section, because another recent addition that LinkedIn added, and I'm sure this was in 2023 as well, were these headings along the top. So in this panel here is all the activity that I've ever done on LinkedIn. And these headings allow anybody that visits my profile, or maybe it's a client that wants to find out more about what I do, then they can come and they can read all my posts. They can go down and show all the posts that I've written to see what I write about, what I talk about eventually. Yeah. So they can see everything that I've talked about over the years. They can also go and see what kind of person I am, because of the kind of comments that I leave and the kind of feedback that I leave for other people that have posted on LinkedIn. Here's the very guy that I mentioned earlier. And actually, this is quite an important post that John put only today. I noticed it on my profile yesterday, because it used to be on your top panel that creator mode, which I'll go into in a second, gave you the option to list 5 hashtags of the key topics that you talk about. But yesterday, they just switched it off for no reason. And again, this is just a great example of how LinkedIn stay on top of the platform to make sure it's running at its optimal. And they've probably got rid of that because it probably wasn't a great deal of use to most people. I didn't see much value in it personally. But John posted that. I've gone in and commented on it. So you can see my comments, videos, images, and there's a lot more that you can go and check on as well. But yes, that's a very valuable section if you're visiting anyone's profile, is to find out more about them, to see what they write about, what kind of person they are. You can get a good feeling from the kind of person they are by the kind of comments that they leave for others. Okay, so that was the activity section. The next section I'm going to go into very briefly is your about section, quite often referred to as the summary section. Now, what this section does is it gives you 4 lines of content to write as a hook to get people to click this see more button to come in and learn more about you. Now, excuse me.
Victoria's asking Craig, is there no need now to use hashtags anymore?
Who's asking, sorry?
Victoria's asking, is there no need now to use hashtags?
No, I think hashtags are still very powerful. But the problem with them, actually LinkedIn talked about getting rid of hashtags for a while, but they've reneged on that. So hashtags are still very powerful. Anybody that is knowledgeable in LinkedIn uses hashtags. The issue with it is that people quite often use far too many. LinkedIn encourages you to use 3 to 5 maximum. If you use 6, LinkedIn will see that as a bot, and therefore they will prevent your reach on that particular post. So never put more than 5 hashtags on it. Preferably 3 is fine. I tend to use 3 to 5 all the time.
Excellent.
Does that
Astrid is
question?
saying, I don't have an about section. Why is that?
It's because you haven't added it as a profile section. So if you go up here, you can add a profile section, okay, on your top panel, and then you can add an about section. Astrid, if you want to pick up with me on this afterwards or at a later stage, I'll show you how to find that and how to create it. So don't hesitate to drop me a message if you want some help with that.
Excellent.
Does that answer the questions for now, Stuart?
I think it does.
Okay, that's good. Right, so the bit I was talking about here is the about or summary section. And as I say, you're allowed 5 lines of text before you go into the main part, before people have to click see more. Therefore, you want to make this first section like catchy, like a hook, like a sales hook, to grab their attention, to get them to click more and to come in and see more about you. Now, it used to be that this was all I am the big I am and write all about yourself. But today, that's not what it's about. This is about helping people that are prospective customers to know what it is that you do. So I'm asking a question here. Have you identified some of the following issues in your business? So it's about them. But then I'm taking them on to say, don't listen to me, listen to the experts that you know, the Bob Nardelli, who's the head of Depot in the USA. Bill Gates, we all know, Tony Robbins, brilliant guy. And some of their quotes when they talk about coaching. And then I go in and I say, well, here's what other people who have worked with me think about me. And finally, is my sales pitch about LinkedIn team training, and then my contact details. Okay. So now, one of the things you'll notice on that section is that you can also now add to your about section your 5 top skills, which is great. But if it was a recruiter that was looking at my profile or anyone's profile for that matter, and they saw coaching, leadership, management, consulting, storytelling, it doesn't give them any indication as to how much experience I have in these areas or how long I've been doing them. Likewise with sales or marketing or business development, it only tells them the title. It doesn't tell them how long I've done any of them. So although it's there, it's not a great deal of use. But I'll come back to that as we go further down. The next section is your experience. Now, your experience is all about your CV, effectively, all the jobs that you've worked in. But when you go in here to edit it, this opens them all up. And if I go down here to the Power Within and I click Edit, then I can change it as I like. Now, my actual title, and this is me talking about market value filters now, and the reason that they're important, the reason that they're critical, is because my actual official title at the Power Within is a business and executive coach. Capitals. There we go. Business and executive coach. That's my formal title. But as you can see here, then there's no drop-down menu. And if there isn't a drop-down menu, don't use that title because you're invisible for that title. This is a market value filter, which is why I've had to change mine to what it was previously. In fact, I don't need to know what it was previously. I can simply come out of that, discard it, and then I can go in and show you again that I had to change it to business coaching specialist, because now when I click on that, you can see that that comes up in a drop-down menu. If I was a business development manager, you can see that there's a huge drop-down comes down to allow you to choose your exact role. These are market value filters. If you select market for anybody searching for business development managers. Yeah. Now that might prompt a few questions, but that's really powerful stuff that you need to know about. Another market value filter is your employment type. Are you full-time, part-time, self-employed, etc., etc.? Full-time is right at the top, which means it's the most powerful. It's the one that gets the most searches. So use that. When you select a company, now there's only one for the Power Within, but if the company that you search for, instead of having a logo here, has two grey buildings, it means that that company does not have a LinkedIn company pages profile, which means that, guess what? It won't show up in searches, and therefore it's not a market value filter. When you go to location, now I live in a wee mining village in Fife, but although I can put it in and it is a market value filter, then I always advise choose a city that's closest to your hometown, because more people will search in that area than in your hometown. Yeah. So market value filter it. As soon as I type in Edinburgh, it drops down and it says Edinburgh City, Scotland, United Kingdom. Perfect. Excuse me. The same is true when you go to your location type. Now, at the Power Within, we're all remote workers, but I can get a higher score by using the word hybrid, because on occasion, I'm doing it tomorrow, for instance, I'm going to meet a client in person. So I've used hybrid for that. Okay, so let me just close that. I'll discard the changes. So hopefully that makes some sense as to what the power of market value filters are. But it gets even more powerful when you go further down your profile. Sorry, I'll need to go back. Here we go. When I go further down my profile into the skills section, this is where market value filters really kick in. Because if you don't use the skills that LinkedIn are giving you in their market value filters, well, guess what? You won't be found for that particular skill. So it's imperative that when we do these, that we get it right. Now, you're allowed 50 skills here, which you can build up through just me spending a wee bit of time on it. I've deliberately left one of them blank so as I can show you an example of this. So here's my skill. I've got to choose what skill I want to add. Okay. Now, I've practiced this earlier on, so I know that the easiest one for me to find was something as simple as a boxer. So let's say I'm a boxer. Now, boxer isn't a skill. It's boxer size that's the skill. So I'm forced then to say boxing and on X. And boxing is a market value filter. So I could click on that and use that. And then I can append that to all the jobs. I haven't used boxing in any of these jobs, incidentally, but you can append the skill to any of the jobs in your career history, or to your education, or to your volunteering in my case, or courses that you've done. And you can append it and it will show in your skills, and it will show in your profile for that particular role. Now, so that was boxing, but what if I said boxing training? Well, there's boxing trainers all over the world, but it's not a market value filter. So if you wanted to find a new job as a boxing trainer or boxing training, then then it ain't going to be found because it's not in the drop-down menu. Therefore, it is not a market value filter. And if you don't use the market value filters, then that particular element of your profile is invisible to the algorithm, to your potential customers, to your potential recruiters or future employers, all entirely invisible. So, and with that, it brings an end to this particular presentation. I hope you found that valuable. I'm going to stop sharing now, Stuart, and I'll be delighted to take any questions.
So let's have a look.
Right.
Who put their hand up first? I think Erin put her hand up first there. Erin, then Victoria.
I was just wondering, how often should businesses and individuals be posting on LinkedIn for it to be effective? Is there such a thing as too much? Can that affect you, or is there a minimum?
Aye, this is something that I've talked to Stuart about in the past as well. There is too much, and especially if you've got an immediately recognisable banner like ours, or like Coca-Cola or something. If you're posting several times a day, then what it does is it turns out as noise, and most people will actually just stop following or block the content, and as a result, it dramatically reduces your actual penetration into the market. If I'm advising a client, usually a business owner or an executive in a business, I would advise them to post as a minimum only 2 or 3 days a week. But if they can manage every day, then that's great. But as soon as you start, some people would argue that if you post in the morning and then again in the afternoon, the one in the afternoon will steal impact from the one in the morning. Yeah. Now, I know that I've talked to James about this in the past, and I don't think he agrees with that principle, but that's what I'm getting trained. That's what I train other people, and that's what I believe. So that's how I use it. Does that answer your question, Erin?
Yeah, I think I was just a bit unsure because just now, like for our business page, I'm posting every single day, but my worry is that, there's not really a lot of engagement. So I don't know if people are just so used to seeing the posts every day that, it's nothing new. They're not stopping and thinking, what's that post about? If maybe I should reduce it.
As I say, I know that habitually we've done it differently at the Power Within. But if I was advising the Power Within as an external consultant, then I would be saying one a day, no more.
Yeah.
And I would even say that because we've all got the same banners or backgrounds, then if you as a marketing team post in the morning and I post and Stuart posts in Victoria posts later that same day, that's all being seen as the one company. So it all impacts because we're all, all the colours. So people recognise the colours, and therefore they may decide to unfollow, and that's why the impact will reduce. So too much becomes noise, effectively. Does that sound?
Yeah, no,
Does it cover? It's all right. I'll be happy to talk to you about this later in the week if you like, Erin.
Okay.
Victoria.
Next up, Victoria.
Hello. So just going back to that, there's two questions now. Just going back to that Erin had just mentioned, would that include reposts? So, for instance, like Erin will post something about TPW, and then we'll all sort of go in and we like, and does that include the shares and the reposts then, Craig? Is that too much noise?
Yeah, unfortunately, it does. Yes, it adds to the noise, and it has a counterproductive element to it. The whole thing. We talked about this actually in the session earlier today about rebranding, but the whole principle is to get a positive corporate message out, and for it to be supported. But because of us all appearing the same, and this is the issue that we're talking about at the minute, our brand, because our banners are all the same colour, if there's too much of it, people see it and they don't block you as an individual or the company necessarily. What they block is the colours, the banner, and therefore, or not block it, but they stop following it, and that reduces the impact. So I've had conversations with James about this before, and I'm sure we'll have them again. But yes, as the answer to your question, it does add to the noise and reduce the impact.
Okay.
And
the only thing I was just going to add after that is, Stuart, I think we need to get Craig back for a part 2.
Yes, definitely. So who we've got? We've got Kunle, Astrid, Daniel, and Ben as well. So where did you go? Kunle, have I pronounced that correctly?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, sorry, can you hear me?
Next up.
Brilliant. Cheers, Stuart. Craig, thank you for the presentation. I came in a bit late, but you answered the questions. It's really good. I was just wondering, do you have like templates when what's the sort of ideal in terms of the posts and your engagement? Should you have like templates for branding as you make your posts? And should you kind of mix, what kind of content should you be sort of posting to try and, because what I'm trying to do is attract investment and attract clients and kind of get engagement going up. I'm just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Okay. Templates for posting for someone like Erin, who is a marketing manager, is probably a very time-saving and valuable tool, yes. So if Erin creates a template with her corporate banner on it and the right kind of font that we use day in, day out, then yes, that can be very powerful. For small businesses and individuals, then creating a template might be less valuable, I would suggest, and perhaps less personable. The thing is that when Erin, the marketing team, when they put out a post, then they're trying to put out our corporate message, our business message. So they're not really necessarily trying to make it personal as such. Whereas for individuals and smaller businesses, then they do want it to be personal because they want to show the human side. Everybody wants to show the human side, but probably more focused on that. But I think templates have got a place, but probably in a specialist department like marketing, and not so for the rest of us. Does that answer your question?
That's great. I guess the other thing I was just wondering, what's your sort of most successful post? What's the sort of most memorable post? I had a look today. I was talking to someone about LinkedIn, and I looked, and I've had like 120 impressions in the last 28 days. Like practically no one looked at my LinkedIn. I haven't either. So I'm just wondering, what was your most kind of like memorable post to kind of get that attention?
My most memorable one was actually it was a headline on the BBC website that talked about a city farm in Edinburgh that had been rescued by this charity, and the farm, it was called the Dalry, Dalry, Dalry City Farm, because it was in an area of Edinburgh called Dalry. And what they'd done is, to attract attention, they had brought in 2 llamas to add to the farm, to the zoo. Yeah. And the headline in the BBC website was Dalry Llama visits Edinburgh. And I thought it was a brilliant play on words. So I posted it and it went absolutely bananas. I got about 25,000 comments on it, something along that side. So that's been by far my biggest and most successful post.
Dalry Lava.
Nice one.
It's great, isn't it?
Cheers, nice one.
Right, who's next?
Who's next? Astrid, I think you were next. Astrid.
Great, thank you. My question was coming back to when you said about the link to the business website, when it shows as 2 little like grey squares, you said something about that it's not recognized by LinkedIn as something, and I just didn't quite understand what that was about and how to change that, basically.
If you go to my profile and go and scroll down to my current job with the Power Within, what you'll see next to it is the Power Within's logo at the left-hand side of my job title. If you click on that, that should take you to another link, which will then, if you click on that, it'll take you to our company page.
Yeah, and
right.
How did you do that?
Well, I didn't do it. LinkedIn does it. But the fact is that when you've got a business, it's not just about having your personal profiles. It's about having a company profile, or it's actually called company pages, because LinkedIn have had it for years and they've never really given it much love. But it was always, okay, it's fine to have it, but so what? But as soon as you create a LinkedIn company page and use your company logo, as we've done, to attach to that, then when you then go and search to add your job to the company, then it will come up with the company logo rather than the 2 grey squares that you saw, because we've got a company page. If you're seeing grey squares, then it's because the company doesn't have a company page. Does that answer your question?
I see. Okay, right. So on LinkedIn, I would then create a different company page as well as to my own profile.
You have your own profile, and then you have an option to add and create a company page in addition, and then you can link the 2 together. Can you help with that? Let me know. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Excellent. Next up was Daniel, then Ben. Daniel, over to you. Now you're on mute, Daniel.
You're on mute, Dan.
Still on mute. Still on mute. No, where have you gone? Still on mute, Daniel.
Dan, if you hover your mouse over your picture in the group here, you'll get an option to.
Oh yeah, can you hear me now, Craig?
Got you.
Just a quick one. Being a subscriber to like the gold member, what advantages and benefits going forward? Is it value for money? Will I get recognised, etc.? Do you recommend it?
When you say a gold member, do you mean that you're paying for your LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'm vague on that area. I'm just a subscriber. I'm just a normal member, but I'm thinking, is it worth upgrading to do that? What benefits do we get going on that side of things moving forward?
I think you'll get different arguments on this from different people. As a paid member, then when you go to view people who viewed your profile, you can see a whole list of everybody. Whereas if you're on the free version, which I am, then you can only see the last 5 people that have viewed your profile. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Now, that could be valuable in some cases, because you might want to reach out to people that have viewed your profile and say, thanks for visiting, I hope you found it interesting, it'd be great to connect. So you could do something like that. if that kind of thing is valuable for you, there's one or two advantages to having a paid membership. I've never found that I've needed it to date, but it really comes down to a personal choice. There's lots and lots of stuff out there online, and Googling, if you were simply to Google what is the advantages of a premium membership on LinkedIn, then they'll come back and tell you. However, when I was considering it, I looked at a post on LinkedIn from a guy who used to be, I think, head of marketing or something like that for LinkedIn. And his view was that you should never need the professional or the premium version. However, some roles and some positions, we have people within our business that are, their profile or their premium version is paid for by the company because they need to have greater access to contact people, because it restricts you from inviting connections, it restricts you from sending messages and whatnot. So there's a lot of restrictions where it reduces your ability to reach out. Some of our salespeople need to be able to have unlimited access to that, so they get the premium version. The answer to your question is that there isn't really an answer to your question, and I hope that makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
Just one thing I'll add to that, Daniel, before we jump on to Ben. I've got Sales Navigator, which is a premium subscription, and the big advantage with Sales Navigator is it kind of runs independent of your main LinkedIn profile. So when I've actually got almost like a separate dashboard for Sales Navigator. But what Sales Navigator is really good for is the search. If you're serious about using LinkedIn to build connections and build databases, Sales Navigator is fantastic because the filters that open up for it are massive. So for example, one of the things that I do on LinkedIn Sales Navigator is I will look at who my competitors are, right? And I can set Sales Navigator so that I can connect with my competitors' connections. Now you can't do that in any other than Sales Nav. And as Craig said, the number of connections you can make in a day open up quite a bit more with a paid subscription. So I use it a lot for my other business, but I think Craig is right. For most business owners, the free version is more than enough. You only really need to go to Sales Navigator or a subscription if you're really hammering databases. And it's what I don't like about LinkedIn is it's nothing or a chunk of dough, right? I mean, you're basically getting it for free, or you're paying £67 a month. Right?
Yeah.
There's nothing in between. So I agree with Craig. Unless you're really using it, stick with free.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Excellent. Hope that answers your question. Ben, over to you. If you're still there, Ben, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. The camera stopped working halfway through. I don't know why.
That's okay. We saw you earlier. You're really ugly, so we prefer you keep the camera off.
You switched it off, did you? Right, yeah.
Ben,
sorry, I think it was a mute there. Sorry.
I would never speak to you like that. I would never speak to you like that, Ben.
No. Two questions I've got. Should I have, when you said a company page and a personal, could I have just a company page? Because I'm not really intent on selling myself. I'm trying to push myself, but the company forward.
No, there's no value in that. No value in that whatsoever. You'd be better not having a company page at this moment in time and posting on LinkedIn on your personal profile, because bear in mind that people aren't buying from your company, they're buying from you. So
right.
Anything that you're doing, I know that you and I have talked about this before, but anything that you're doing on LinkedIn, like pictures of before, middle, and after of jobs that you've done to show the quality of your work, and I know that your attention to detail is meticulous. So showing that and showing the quality of the work that you provide is far more powerful than having a company page. So in your case, I wouldn't worry about a company page at all.
Right. Yeah.
100%.
Right. And then the second one was when you said at the beginning, the LinkedIn algorithm, for it to recognize you, you need to be on LinkedIn, doing something on LinkedIn, minimum 30 minutes a day.
No, I said that if someone wants to grow their business using LinkedIn, they need to commit to about 30 minutes a day. But in your case, and again, I think we've covered this before, I would advise in your case that if you can have 2 or 3 posts per week that are going out on social media from you, then that is a great starting point to get your brand out there, to get your face out there, to get your name out there, so that people start to know who you are. And as it slowly, because it takes a long time when you start off doing this, but as it starts to work and you start to get inquiries and new business coming in from it, then you've got a decision to make. Do I want to post more often? Do I want to hire a virtual assistant, for argument's sake, to do my posting for me so that I can get a post out every day? Things like that. You might even want to hire a marketing company.
Yeah.
The fact is that the cost of hiring the virtual assistant or the marketing company is negated, because by that stage you'll be generating enough leads and new business that are coming in that's paying for itself. So it's investing in your business effectively.
Yeah.
So no, I don't need you to spend 30 minutes a day. But if you can, I would encourage people that do want to spend 30 minutes a day. I don't need you to post. What I need you to do is I need you to look at your feed as it comes in, or go and search for the kind of people that you want to connect with. Look at what they're posting, and then simply react to it, like it, comment on it, things like that. Because LinkedIn then sees that you're being very active on the platform, and guess what? It'll start to promote you up the ladder and give you greater reach. That's how it works.
It's actually become quite addictive, because I've took something what you said on our personal meetings. I've always had a Facebook page, but I've started an Instagram page up. It's become quite addictive now. I'm on it, like thinking, seeing who else has liked it, who else has.
So have you made your Facebook and your Instagram page business pages?
Yeah, I've gone through the Meta Business Suite and done it that way. Yeah.
Good man. The reason I ask that, for anybody else that's not aware, is that Instagram and Facebook are both owned by Meta. And if you go in and create a Facebook page and an Instagram page, and then upgrade them to business pages, which is a free of charge option, it then gives you an option to link the two together. And when they're linked together, if you post on one, it automatically copies over to the other. So you're getting 2 for 1 and a freebie. So you're posting on both platforms by simply posting on one.
That's
excellent.
I should have asked you about that one, Aaron.
Who's next? Susie, you've got your hand up as well. Susie.
Sorry, I went to press unmute and then I moved across the screen there. So it's yeah, Craig, first of all, thank you for reaching out when I applied for the training. I would say, because I'm fairly new, very new, although, as I said to you, Craig, somebody uploaded my details thinking they were a friend, and for probably about 4 years I was like, I'm not going on it, don't like it, don't know what I'm doing. So came on it last year. And I hear what you are saying. I suppose my own struggle is because I'm on As You Matter Always, which is this very small, not-for-profit initiative. And because I am the one woman behind You Matter Always, and because it's suicide prevention, mental health, well-being, that sort of thing, in some ways, although I can post the well-being stuff, the suicide prevention stuff, all of that, my work-ish things, I'm trying to also reach the person behind the professional, if that makes sense. Yes. Because sometimes I feel LinkedIn is a wee bit forgets that there's people behind, and it's the people a lot of the time that are struggling. So I post quite a lot because I know there's people up through the night that struggle to sleep that might just need to read a message or something like that. But I'm kind of not sure whether I'm doing the right thing or whether because I'm maybe over posting, because I'm posting maybe wee messages, just things that somebody might just need to hear along with other stuff. So I'm kind of not sure. I don't know if I'm clearer or more confused about where I use it, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay, first things first. Thank you very much for choosing to come along tonight, and also for messaging me and connecting with me on LinkedIn. That means a great deal to me. If I understand you, you don't have a personal profile, only a company profile. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right. So the other, so first thing is that you and I need to have a sit down, and I'll help you with it. Okay. So that's a given. However, what I want you to think about is one of the questions that you asked there is, does LinkedIn forget that we're also people? The answer to that question is no, they don't. It's people that forget we're people, and we try to appear as this corporate giant, this corporate monster that LinkedIn encourages, and forget that we're actually humans. So show the human side. And your sector in the not-for-profit sector, and particularly in the area that you work in, is just mind-blowing. It really is. It's so encouraging to see the kind of things that you do. And I have seen some of the stuff that comes out from you. But yes, I need to help you on that one. So I will do that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Really, I really
Cost you a beer.
appreciate it. That's
Gonna
all
cost you a
right.
beer.
I can
what's a
afford
beer?
that. Thank you. Thank you.
Not a bad old bean, isn't he? He's not a bad old bean. Excellent. Okay, just conscious of the time, I think we've answered everybody's questions.
I
Does
did
anybody
want
else?
to.
Oh, who is that?
I did have my hand up again, if that's all right.
Oh,
If I
well,
can
go for
go
it.
again.
Yeah, go for it.
Cheers,
Yeah.
Leonard Kunle.
Yeah.
Hi,
We
Craig.
charge
Thanks.
£10 for additional questions.
Well, actually, that was kind of what my question. I mean, my profile, I've got LinkedIn Premium. I think I used it just because I wanted to see people viewing my profile when I was in
Yep.
another life, and I've had it for a long time, and I'm thinking of using Sales Navigator. But to be honest, I quite like some help with my profile in general. So I was just wondering if I could nick a bit of time with you, Craig, at some point, to just go through my profile and do some of these little nitty gritty things. If that's okay. I don't know if I need to be on a training course or something with you guys.
What I could do is, for anybody here, I've created a kind of 1 or 2 page document, and I think Stuart's got all your contact details somewhere. If it would help, then I can have that sent out to everyone over the next few days, so that it gives you a
If you
kind
send to
of
me, Craig, I'll forward it to everybody.
perfect. So that'll give you a step-by-step guide as to what you can do there, Kunle, without having to take up any time. And I hope that helps. But if you've got any queries that come from that document, then come back to me and I'll do what I can.
Brilliant. Top man. And thanks again. Really appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome. Anybody else get any other questions, or will we wrap up at that?
Thanks, Neil.
Everybody happy? Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? I'm sold. Excellent. Craig, that was brilliant.
Thank you very much,
do you know
everyone.
what? I've listened to you so many times. You've worked one-to-one with us all, and there's always bits and pieces you go, shit, I need to go and do that. Oh, I forgot I've not done that.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely brilliant. I've taken a note of some action points for me. So
If you think about it, I touched on at the start how LinkedIn had made 140 changes, 170 plus changes to the platform last year.
yeah,
None of us are able to stay in touch with all of that. You know,
no, of course we're not.
and a lot of them, like the MVPs, these are things that are stopping us from being able to have any success or any growth on LinkedIn. So it's imperative that we
Correct.
know about them, but LinkedIn don't tell us about them. And that's why when I mentioned Kevin Turner earlier on, the guy's a genius. He's perfect for that. And if anybody didn't pick up on that, Kevin Turner TNT brand strategies on YouTube, and you'll learn far more than I could ever teach you about LinkedIn. The guy's a genius.
What was his name? Sorry, Kevin what? Kevin
D. Turner.
Yep.
Please,
got it.
please don't send him a remove connection request because he'll probably reject it.
Yeah.
But by all means, follow him and go to his YouTube channel and subscribe to that, because it's, if you're interested in LinkedIn at all, it's genius, absolutely genius.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Excellent. Okay, Craig, we will wrap up at that. We'll go and get a cup of tea. Absolutely brilliant, and there's been loads of people.